In this tutorial, we'll take a look at two new functions of the Giants editor that deal with designing the terrain. On the one hand, we'll get to know the erosion feature and, on the other hand, the purlin noise feature. Both help us to achieve a terrain height design that looks as natural as possible. First, we open the Terrain Editing panel via the menu Window Terrain Editing. Then we close all the categories we don't need and open the Noise category. This category contains 5 parameters. The first parameter, Enable Noise, turns the option on or off. If we activate this parameter, it generates random variations in the brush stroke that we're using to modify the terrain. So our terrain isn't raised evenly, but small peaks or islands are created. However, this only happens if we use the Add or Subtract options. The Replace and Smooth options remain unchanged. We can demonstrate this quickly by creating a small hill here. The second parameter, Seed, specifies the random base value used to calculate the variations. If we stroke the brush several times over the same area, the different variations always occur in the same positions unless we change the seed value, which we can do very quickly and easily by clicking the Random Seed button. The third parameter, Persistence, specifies how strongly the variations appear. With parameters 4 and 5, we can set the attributes and the frequency of the variations that occur. The higher the frequency value, the more variations appear. The Octaves parameter acts similarly, as it determines how many different frequencies are used. Now we want to use the Erosion feature. To do so, we first turn off the Noise feature and activate Erosion. With this option, we can apply the effects of natural erosion to our terrain. First, we switch on Erosion mode and start with Thermal. This type of erosion simulates how material at higher levels breaks loose and slides down a slope to pile up at the bottom. We'll set the number of iterations to a very small value so we can understand the effects of erosions on our terrain step by step. Minimum slope is a threshold value for terrain slope up to which the material is moved. At a small value, the effects will approach those of the smooth option, so we'll choose a higher value. Blend amount defines how much material slides down the slope. The higher the value, the more material is moved. With the current settings, we can smooth out the uneven surface here a bit. However, the terrain retains a certain texture and doesn't just become flat or smooth, as would be the case if the smooth option were used. Finally, we want to take a look at the hydraulic options parameters and the effect they have. To do so, we'll undo the changes we've just made to the terrain using the Thermal option. The quickest way to do this is to repeatedly press the keyboard shortcut Ctrl-Z. Hydraulic simulates changes to the terrain caused by flowing water. Parts of the terrain are dissolved from one area and deposited elsewhere. First, we have the number of iterations here again, and we'll set them as before to a very small value so we can see the changes step by step. Rain determines how much water is used in the simulation. Solubility determines how much material is dissolved. And water evaporation determines how much water evaporates. We can quickly visualize the exact effects by editing our terrain using different settings.